Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. There's no time to lose. We've almost played everything in November 1982.
I can't remember what I ever did before.
And we were last playing Typo on the Atari home computer, and our very next release is Typo for the Commodore VIC-20. You thought it was going to be arcade games tonight. Well, we have to get through every single video game, and that includes even this one. This is Typo, the 325th game we played for the Commodore VIC-20. And here's the box. It should look, it looks pretty much the same. They silverized it because on the Commodore 64, you got to make it look silver and fancy. This is the fourth game we've seen by Romox thus far. They've done games like Princess and Frog and Attack on EPCYG4. This one is educational. Besides the box, yeah, this looks pretty much the same as what we saw before. They have a really tiny screenshot, but it makes you think you're going to play Pac-Man, at least from that screenshot. Any other artwork we have for Typo? Oh, the cartridge for the VIC-20. Like we said with the episode on Turmoil, you can't just put all these cartridges in all these different computers. There's no standards here in November 1982. This one has to go in the Commodore VIC-20. And there's the example of the screenshot. Let's pop it and play Typo. This is by TJS Industries, Tim Schmidt, and released at some time in November 1982. Beginning of November, end of November, we don't know, somewhere in there. This is the third time we've seen Tim Schmidt and TJS Industries. I mentioned in the last game we played with Typo, he did Fortune Hunter, which is a good one. Wait a second, something's going on with the public domain music. Does everyone hear Free Release? That's a different Free Release than what we just heard on the Atari home computer. It's a little bit wonky. All right, so we can begin the game, and then they have the same options that we saw on the Atari home computer. F5 to change the words per minute, F3 to change mode, so let's try it. F3. Mode, I want phrases, yes. And then enter to start, did it say that? Or spacebar to start. Oh wait, F1 to start. F7, sorry, to start. There we go, F7. And I want phrases. Oh, that is totally not a phrase. Y, C. Oh, did I already break the game? Oh, I see. C, P. You can pause it if you want to. Q, A, S, N, Z. I'm very, very slowly moving away as a Pac-Man style game from the enemy, but you have to type just this gibberish in as fast as you possibly can. Quick, quick, quick. SYBB. Now, this is a game that we were going to be seeing a lot later, this kind of style of educational game. I'm not really learning that much with this mode, but they do have all the game modes, words per minute modes. I actually got to say, after playing this on the Atari home computer and then coming here on the Commodore VIC-20, this is really impressive on the Commodore VIC-20. This is pretty much the exact same game. I didn't think it was possible to get this, so props to you. Oh, look, and they get the animation. After we die, our character gets bulldozed away. I love that. So this is the 8th time we played an educational typing game here on Chronologically Gaming because we play everything. We've seen games like Gore-Tech and the Microchips, Bop-A-Bet on the Apple II by Al Lowe, Keyboard Creations on the Magnavox Odyssey 2, and Word Invaders, things like that. So this is an idea for a video game that is not new, but the way that they're executing it here is awesome. And I said that with the Atari home computer version. This is like you're playing a arcade-style maze game, or I should say an homage to Pac-Man, but not really Pac-Man, but making it so you're playing the game by typing. Maybe I should check the... It's difficult to do a typing video game and also showcase and explain what the game is at the same time. Plus, my most of the equipment for this show is in front of the keyboard, so that's why I'm having to fumble around and use my hands. You mean you have to use your hands for this game? But the music is not nearly as good as the Atari home computer, obviously, because that has the Pokey chip. But still, this is really admirable. Very well done for programming for all the games up to this point. And for educational, this is fantastic. I like that they're incorporating Pac-Man, making you feel like you're playing the game. And we can change up how it's played. Can we go back to the main? Yeah, go back to the main mode and say, I want to change it to words, and then hit F7. Yeah, now we can type real words. Change the words per minute. Calorie. They had funny phrases too. You could do that too, but it's just the fact that you're able to, as you type, the game is playing based on how well you type. It's ingenious. Here in November 1982, Typo is a big deal. And here on the Commodore VIC-20, it is very well done. So how would you rate this game? I know it's educational, but how would you rate this game across every other game that you could play on all other home computers right now? Well, I'd say Typo is very, very well done. Above average for all the video games you could play. And even though I'm not the demographic, you know, it's meant for teaching typing or having fun playing a game while you're typing, it's still very well done. Looking in the chat, yeah, it says 3.5. Yeah, if you have a real keyboard, that's for sure, especially for the VIC-20. I said 4 stars for the Atari home computer. I'm saying here for the VIC-20, Typo is excellent. It is a 4-star video game. Obviously, it's because this kind of genre, it's like the top tier of this kind of game. There's nothing that can compare to a typing educational game with video game. This is the best of the best. So I'm saying 4 for both versions. They're amazing. Most people are saying 3 stars in the chat. And maybe I'm rating it higher because I'm thinking of the youngsters learning how to type, that they have a fun time too. All right, but we're not done. There's more education to come after this commercial break.
Why? Get the why. This is a perfect example of how Atari home computing programs are making learning fun.
Ooh, nice.
Stacy's learning touch typing by playing Typo Attack. She's protecting her letters from these mean little typos by pressing the right keys at the right time. Get the I.
I don't think Stacy's learning anything when you yell at her like that.
Just by playing this game, she could become a real typist.
Want to try?
I thought she'd never ask.
Get the R.
He's gonna do it too?
R. Hit it.
Where is it?
Oh my gosh, I think we found my favorite commercial we've seen so far. I mean, where else are you going to get Alan Alda yelling at you while you're playing an educational computer game? This is Typo Attack. We're back on the Atari home computer, and let's see what this one's all about. Starting with the box. Typo Attack. Awesome. So this one's only on the Atari home computer. It's the 416th game we've seen for the 400 or 800. And this one's by the Atari Program Exchange, or APX. The 44th game we've seen by them. It's essentially people get to make their own games, and then Atari Program Exchange publishes them. We've seen some really good stuff like in Eastern Front, 1941, Caverns of Mars and Phobos, Getaway, Galahad and the Holy Grail, Snark Hunt, Caterpillar, Digger, so many really, really cool titles from this. Type the right key and hit the typos. Sweet. And this is a later box you would have seen around 1984, I believe, when they re-released it. Look at the fancy rebranding that they did here. I know, I love that commercial. It's so good. And here is an article about the award-winning developer, David Bueller, that did the game, and he won $25,000 check because apparently they sold a lot of these on the Atari home computer, a flagship game, at least on the educational front, kind of like Star Raiders. It was the killer app of the Atari home computer. And here's the ad you would have seen in magazines at the time. Down at the bottom is Typo Attack. You're in for a nasty spell unless you stop those typos. Great ad. And then at the top you see Getaway. Man, that one's really good. I don't know if it can compete with that one. There's the 5 1/4 floppy disk for Typo Attack, at least that version, and then also a cartridge version that was released later in 1984. I don't think they had the cart version here in November 1982, and there's the version 1.1. And then another ad, I think this is the later one, using your hands again for a video game. That's what it looked like too, GE Stream. Typo Invaders. So that's all we have for that. We also have the manual. How do we play Typo Attack? I'm glad people have categorized and found all these manuals because this one is the first time you would have seen this manual, not the 1984 version. This is the November 1982 one. Type the right key for ages 8 and up. I don't know, 8-year-olds, man. I think they could get yelled at by Alan Alda too. That makes sense. All right, so this one's by David Bueller, and this is the first time we've seen him do any games. So way to go, David. How do we play Typo Attack? This is the newer manuals for APX. Yeah, defending 8 bases at once from the bombardment of falling typos is what you need to do. And you're just going to have to type the letters in. So I don't think we need a manual for this one. That's the required accessories if we're doing this on cassette and disc, because that's how it was available first. How to load it in. And then we got skill levels too, 1 through 9. Nice touch. You just shoot by pushing the corresponding letter. Return key is represented by space. Okay. And then we have different waves that will appear. Do we have different enemies? I don't think so. It shows the screen display, what the scores are, because you need to know what the points are in November 1982, and then how to pause the game, because that was one of the big selling points of the Atari home computer. You can pause arcade-style video games. And they even give us a strategy with, at the back of the manual, the review form. I'll let everyone fill that in because we'll be rating the game and also reviewing the game. So this one has different versions, not the 1984 version. I don't even know if we'll see that one later, but we have a version 1 and 2. Let's play the first time you could play Typo Attack. David Bueller and APX released it sometime in November 1982. I'm ready to type and attack at the same time, if we can do that. So this one is the 9th typing educational game, but this is loosely typing. It doesn't show off as much as the other one. At least the other one felt like it was a real, like we're going to be actually learning something to type and get our words per minute faster. This one feels more like an educational flavor going for it. And we're loading it in cassette, so this is what it would sound like fast forwarded to load through cassette. There we go, Typo Attack. What skill level do we want? So we can push the option button on our Atari home computer, and I can see I can go through levels 1 through 9. Let's just do a level, I think we're doing all right. Let's do level 2 and see what happens. I'll let everyone in the chat yell at me like Alan Alda did. All right, here we go. Hey, oh, it switched to, what? It looks like it should be ADSF, but like, it's constantly switching out the letters at the bottom. So you have to, it's like a hunt and peck simulator. That's so bizarre. What we saw in the commercial already pretty much explains the game. So it's very simple concept. Oh, very cool. So we go to wave 2 now, and we do have different enemy types. That's awesome. So having the ability to go from level to level and see if you can see what the next wave is a cool idea. But still, this is very, very simple. A shooter. It's basically a command shooter, like you would think, not really like Missile Command, but it's an even more simplistic command shooter where the bases that you're firing from just fire in one direction, and you just have to hit the key. So as long as you're fast enough, then that's it. So it's really not teaching me typing. It's more of, I guess, helping me find the keys. So you see, this is the kind of typing experience or educational typing games that we've seen thus far. This one's fun, definitely. Arcade style, works really well. It feels more like I'm playing Space Invaders. Oh, and if you go too slow, they like eat away at the bottom. That's a nice touch. So I'm just randomly pushing the different keys here. So this is the 50th command shooter that we played thus far. The most popular command shooter, obviously, is Missile Command. This one's not based on Missile Command. This is based on some other games we've seen that play more like this, like NORAD on the Apple II, where you type a key for each place to make sure nothing comes and blows you up, or Astro Command on the Commodore VIC-20, or Blue Meanies from Outer Space on the Commodore VIC-20. The other one this reminds me is the one we just recently saw on the Sharp MZ, which was called Jungle Jinx, where it's just a very simplistic fixed shooter. So the idea we've seen before, but this is actually presentation-wise very well done. I can see how this sold more copies, but I don't think I'm learning anything. I wonder if this is even borderline educational. It feels more if it's an arcade-style game. Ooh, look, you got to type it at the right time. Yeah, this feels more, because when we played Jungle Jinx or when we played Blue Meanies from Outer Space, it was using numbers for the bottom row. But actually, to tell you the truth, this is really, really close to a game we played called Gun Command on the ZX81. It was exactly like this. The same layout, but at the bottom they had numbers instead of letters. So it's really, really close to something we've seen thus far, but done much better. Yeah, right? Yeah, the 8 keys instead of having to use the cursor around as Missile Command. I don't feel like I learned much in Typo Attack, but I had a good time, and I can understand how this was selling a lot of games for the Atari home computer. I'm not as impressed, though. I want to rate it more like an not as an educational title, more as just an arcade-style game. It's a simple idea, but it's just executed very, very well. So I'm thinking around 3 stars, maybe 3.5 stars for all the games you could play on all home computers. But how much enjoyment would you actually have, and how long would you want to go? Because you can see the wave by wave that hits. In the chat, I see James throwing out 3 stars. I got a 3.5 from Charlie. Oh, and even Curtis is saying the first, 4 letters. Okay, I thought that was your score. And then Brad's saying 3, a 3 and 3.5. Yeah, it's around 3 or 3.5 stars for all the games you could play on all home computers right now. Not as impressive considering we've seen games that do this, but it's just one of the best ones so far. I'll still say 3.5. Typo Attack is an all right time. Oh, and then Brian and Curtis is throwing out 3. All right, I'm going to change it then. We'll go 3 stars. It's average. I'm going to say average for all the games you could play on all home computers. All right, after that, let's see what our next game is. We're next going to play UXB on the Commodore VIC-20. This was in Compute Magazine. There it is. November 1982 Compute. If you turn to the right page, there it is, UXB, or Unexploded Bombs. And it explains what the game is, our mission as an explosive expert, and then we type it in. It is yet another type-in video game, the 90th type-in game we've seen thus far. Let's type in and play UXB by Roger Haggerty in Compute Magazine whenever you typed it in, November 1982. So this is our 326th game we've seen for the Commodore VIC-20 thus far. Let me see how this goes. Oh, we get sound too. Oh, it looks like we got a little glitch on the type. Maybe we got a bug when we typed it in. Do we want instructions? Yes. You've been somehow transported into the middle of a field which contains both antiquated bombs and World War II UXBs, unexplodable German rocket bombs. You have to defuse the UXBs by simply running into their tails. If you hit an old bomb, you'll be blasted. If you get all the UXBs, you'll get... Okay, so I understand. It's a bomb defusal. Sweet. All right, so there's a screen wraparound from side to top, so you can wrap around, and you can use your joystick for a type-in game. That's pretty cool. Well, I'm using the keyboard, I guess, right now. All right, so now it's running this because we obviously didn't type it in ourselves. Someone else did, so thank you for typing it in. This is the 11th game we've played that's from Compute Magazine so far on Chronologically Gaming. I am the 0 running around. I better not touch any of those rainbow-colored bombs, but all you got to do is find the fuse, touch the UXB, and then defuse it. So I'm just using the joystick to move around and defuse the bombs. Simple, very simple concept and idea, and to tell you the truth, this is one of the very few games of bomb defusal we've seen since the beginning of the show. It's a very easy idea. Oh, our time was up. We got to go fast. Number of UXBs was 10. High score was 4. Oh, so it's even keeping a high score. That's pretty good for a type-in game. And every now and then we do consider the price of video games whenever we do our rating, but not really. But you have to admit, you didn't have to pay anything except for the price of the magazine to type in this game and play, which is a really good deal. Yes. Yes, it is a typing bomb disposal game. Oh, no, I wish it was. That game's going to be way, way later. And if we touch a bomb, yeah, we get blasted by it like that. Very nice. So this is the first time we ever saw Roger Haggerty here on Chronologically Gaming. This is essentially like an arcade maze game, a top-down arcade maze game, but it has an objective for you to complete, not just collecting everything like we do with Pac-Man and things like that. Oh, I bet I can't... Can we get it? Oh, we can get it from the side. Nice. So it reminds me of games that are like this with an objective, but this is very, very simple. We played a game called Blueprint in the arcade, which is the same idea. It's a top-down maze game, but you have an objective to complete, picking up all the pages of a blueprint. This one, you got to make your way around and defuse all of the UXBs without touching any of the bombs. But it's pretty simple to move with the joystick, but you just try to defuse as much as you can. This is a very easy game to play, and it works. I love crashing it before we close it up. But there you go. That's UXB. Of all the games you could play across all home computers, it's kind of not fair to compare this to everything you could play, you know, that's a released video game, but we still do here on Chronologically Gaming because it's all on home computers. I'm thinking around 2 stars for all the games at this point, maybe 2.5 if you'd find enjoyment defusing bombs, just because it's a fresh idea. There's not a whole lot of games that are defusing bombs. We played plenty of games where we're blowing stuff up. We've even played games where we are playing as the bomber, dropping a bunch of bombs and causing chain reactions. So looking in the chat, I see, yeah, 2.5 is what I was thinking too. 2 from Barkley. Ooh, 3 from Manley. Got a 2.5. 3 from Jeremiah. Yeah, free is another point. If it's free and it works. So yeah, I'll say because it's a newer concept, 2.5 stars, and you didn't pay anything except for the magazine. But that's not all. You also could have gotten UXB on your Atari home computer if you typed it in. Again, from Compute Magazine. Let's type in and play UXB on a different computer, because we're going to play everything. This is our 417th game we've played on the Atari home computer, and the 91st time we've typed in a video game to play. Presentation already seems better on this. Oh, and they're using the sound. Ooh, and it feels so much better to control on the Atari joystick. Whoa. And it's running faster. I don't know if that's because maybe I typed it in better on this computer compared to the VIC-20, but I'm already getting just a slightly better experience. Oh, I can even move diagonally. Oh, we get flashes when we die. You hit a mine. New high score. Also, this game went right into it. I didn't have to use the keyboard. It felt more like an arcade game. You plug the controller and then push a button and then go. That's pretty cool. Awesome. So yeah, better experience, just slightly, you know, on this computer compared to the others, but that's awesome. So much fun. So this is the 12th game we played by Compute Magazine, or found within Compute Magazine. I like it. Now I'm wondering if I should change the rating and make this the 2.5-star one and the other one as the 2-star one. It's a tight, I'll just say both. If you want to play UXB, I'd say still it's around the average range, maybe subpar average for all the games you could play, but you'd have a good time. This one is smoother to play. I'm seeing 3 stars and 3.5 from Jeremiah. Wow, really? That's fascinating. It's still it's a simple idea, and there's a lot more that you could be playing. We played games that are average for all the, so I still say it's around the average range, but I don't know if I can go as high as 3 stars. Yeah, there's a 2.5, and Brad's also saying 2.5 too. Lots of ratings being thrown out tonight because it's November 1982 when we first experienced it. All right, let's see what our next game is. We're next going to the United Kingdom to play on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This is Venture. Don't get too excited, though. It is not Exidy's Venture that we saw in the arcade, Atari Home Computer, and on ColecoVision. This is a totally different Venture. This is the 143rd game we've played for the Specky. And I had to show off this box. This is a later box, so it's not the one from November 1982, but it's the best one. This is awesomely ripping off Superman, and I love this. I'm so glad that I found this box, because really, you're going to just put Superman right on the front? Or obviously, he doesn't have an S symbol, so I don't know who this is. It's Geometry Man or something like that. Let's flip it over the back. You can see that it's a cassette tape. What? Cassette tapes? That's how we played video games in November 1982. 7 exciting games to make a fortune or end up in debtor's prison. Test your Superman qualities against mystery monsters, bet on races, crash and bomb your way to riches or ruin. At least that's what it says in the case. Do we have other artwork? And yes, we do. Besides this box, we have the original. So this is the one you would have seen around November 1982. 7 games in one is what it boasts on the front. And then we also have the rules, or how to play the game. You load it up, and it's 6 items and monsters appear in previously empty spaces, and it's breaking down the different games you can play. So it's essentially just a collection of mini games. You can see we got Rings, Grand Prix, and Simon. Like that Simon. There's the cassette tape that will pop into play. Some Venture. And this one, the ProTech one, even has all the examples of the mini games you can see right here. And I have a homebrew manual that someone did with all of them. They have Racing, a Fruit Machine, Treasure Hunt, Master Code, which is essentially like Mastermind, Crasher, Bomber. So all these games inside of one. Let's see how well they fare. Let's pop it in play. Actually, we're going to pop it in play the later one, the one that's in 1983, because the first one has a few bugs, and so I want to play a smooth experience. But whatever it is, this is Venture by Jeff A. Bobker, published first by ZX Guaranteed and later by ProTech Computing. The first time you saw this, though, around November 1982. This is the very first time we've seen anything by Jeff Bobker, from ZX Guaranteed, from ProTech Computing, the very first. All right, you have £1,000 to start. If you lose a game, your cash is halved. All right, so let's push S to go. Everyone ready to play a bunch of mini games? We're talking gambling mini games, race betting. All right, so this is the first one. Select the correct one to win. Let's bet on 3. And you can see it's duck racing. We are racing on, or we're betting on racing ducks. Who will win? Come on, 3. Big money. Go 3, go. Oh, 1 wins. And that means my cash is now half, so I only have £500. Not looking so good. Next we go to Las Vegas. We have 10 goes to win over £1,000 if we want to, or £999. So pushing S to start. I mean, this is how the game works. It just rolls mini game after mini game. All right, so we just push S to stop. It explains what we're going to win on the fruit machine. So ready, set, nothing. And that's number 1. Do it again. Stop it. Okay, we won £150, and it is simple mini games like this, or gambling mini games. We've played a few games that are like this, but this is one of the first times that it's a one-player game, because when we see these in the past, they were meant to be party games. You know, you play with other people, see who gets the best luck of the draw kind of thing. But this one, you're just playing with yourself. I find myself doing that too much on this show. So this has several different games inside of games we've seen, like hidden in a grid style games, slot machine, race betting. It is the 19th video game we've played that features mini games like this. We played games like Nightmare Park, which I would say is arguably much better than this. Microsoft Decathlon is a great example because it's all the mini games for sports. Then we played Bez Off, which has mini games. Beagle Bag on the Apple II has lots of mini games that are involved. A really crazy one was Mysterious Island on the Commodore VIC-20 that had a lot of mini games. Trail West and the Great Western on the ZX Spectrum had mini games. Encounter and Star Quest had some mini games. Time Bandits on the ZX Spectrum had mini games. And Poltergeist on the TRS-80 color computer kind of was like mini games. That's kind of a stretch, but you get the idea. We've seen plenty of games that are like this. All right, so this is Treasure Hunt. Here's how you play. Enter a grid reference. If we want to do, let's do 4, 2. Oh, 4, B. Or did I do the wrong order? B3. There you go. So you pick a quadrant, they dig. Oh, it says go right down. So let's do D6. Let's try that one. Come on, big money. Nope. Go right up. All right, so F5. So this is, again, we're just trying to find where the gold is and how long it takes you. And the faster you find it, you can see the more money we get. Very simple idea, but all these are a part of the mini games part of this game. I've played up to whenever it was given us like mastermind, that kind of thing. So yeah, it'd be a fun romp, but again, only one player. So I'm just giving you just an example of what Venture would be like to play on the ZX Spectrum, and it's an okay time. It's a good price too. Here on the ZX Spectrum, these games are cheap when we're talking about how much they cost. But I'm thinking about 1.5 to 2 stars of all the games you could play on all home computers right now, because the one thing to point out is all these games really aren't totally random. At least on my playthrough, when I played them, I was able to see the same thing looping over and over again. But you'd have an okay time. So looking at the looking at the chat, someone get 2 stars. James get 2 stars for the box. Barclay saying 2. Yeah, it is fun and unique, but you wouldn't have as grand of a time about it. I'll say 2 stars so far for everything you could play on all home computers right now. ZX Spectrum, though, you'd have a lot more fun if this was your only computer. All right, after that, let's see what the next game is. Here we go. Time to go to Japan and play Warp and Warp on the Sword M5. The game of the evening. I'm excited for this. Here's the box for Warp and Warp. Nice, an actual scan. Kind of a grummy looking one, but I love it anyway. So this one is based on the arcade game that we saw back in July 1981. Or is it called Warp Warp? The front of the advertisement flyer always said Warp Warp, but in-game it always said Warp and Warp. This is the very first time you could ever play this game at home. I'm going to include a link to when we saw this in the arcades in July 1981 because it was so cool. It's 2 different screens, and one of the screens reminded me of Bomberman, and I've been waiting for something that was like this at home, but we really haven't seen completely like this. But this is the actual game for the very first time you could play at home. It's the 7th game we played so far for the Sword M5, or released for the Sword M5. And this one is by Namco. Ooh, there's the cartridge. Someone let me know that it's Japanese for Namco of the copyright right there. This is the 35th game we've seen so far that Namco has done. Imagine a world where there's only 35 Namco games. Let's pop in and play Warp and Warp by Namco, published by Takara and Sword Computer Corporation sometime in November 1982. Awesome. So this screen and this opening is what we've seen on the Sword M5. If you do a 2-player game, it's just going to be you and someone else taking turns hot seat style. So far, Namco's done 23 games we've seen in the arcades, really big ones. Galaxian, Pac-Man, Rally X, Galaga, Pole Position, Dig Dug, Super Pac-Man, games like that. On the Commodore VIC-20, they've done 2 games so far. On the Atari 2600, their Pac-Man was released. On the Atari 800, Galaxian and Pac-Man have come out. And on the Atari 5200, Galaxian and Pac-Man have come out. This is the 6th game that Namco's done for Sword M5 so far that we've seen up to this point. So I actually don't know if this was done in-house by who did the original arcade version. Shinichiro Okamoto was the planner for the game, and then hardware and programming. I don't know if they were part of this or if someone else did this. So let's push the number 1 key and go. Ooh, they have the sound already. Look at the border on the outside. That's the enemies coming at us. Yes, it already feels like it's the same. There's the bonus frog. See if we can get him. Oh, we barely missed him. It's a dangerous place here in Warp and Warp, where you might get licked by whatever these monsters are. No one wants to get licked by them. So if you see the warp, that means it means warp. If we go in the warp right now, we'll be able to warp to the next stage. Oh, we just missed it. But we'll just keep firing away. We get another bonus. Squid. Extra 1,000. I'll take that. Nice. Ooh, get... Whoa, did I just cancel out the bullet? I don't think I did that one in the arcade. Oh, there's the frog. Get him! Ooh, yes. And then you go for the warp, and now the game changes where you're not shooting. Now you're moving around, and you are laying bombs. Check it out. Oh, we only had to kill 1 enemy? That's nice. I think that was the only one left. Because it's taking whatever enemies you have on the screen here, and then you transfer them to the warp area. We will warp and warp. Alright, I'm already remembering why I enjoyed the game. So cool. At this point, we've seen so many games that are shooters that this could be considered a little clunky with the way you move, just because we played some really, really good ones. Yeah, there you go. Someone's mentioning Seamus because, yeah, this is the same idea. But that was taking place on multiple screens. This is just 2. But the second screen does play like something slightly original. So much fun. This looks and plays so close to the arcade, it wouldn't surprise me if the same team worked on this. This is a very, very, very well done port, especially for a first time at home port. No, go. Ooh, that's a tight one. Let's see if we can run around here. The longer those monsters stay on the screen, the more dangerous they become. I mean, look at this. I think they come back, right? Yeah, there we go. And goes to the next stage. We didn't even have to warp to the next mode, where you get to bomb everything. So since we've seen this game, it may have inspired a few other games that we saw on other systems. Naughty Boy, that we saw by Jalico in the arcade, may have been inspired by this style of game, the way this plays. The other example would be Eyes, that we saw by Rock-Ola in the arcade. And obviously, the biggest inspiration that you can see by the way I move and the way I shoot is this is really close to Wizard of War, at least this mode. And we've already seen Wizard of War on a few home computers besides the arcade up to this point. I missed the warp again. I really like the bombing mode, the bombing stage. You have the classic 1 shot at a time, so when I fire a shot, I have to wait until it makes contact, or if it misses completely. Sweet. Great, well done. So the other thing to point out is that second game mode, let me see if I can get to it first. Need to get a warp going in here. Because the big thing this has is just because it has 2 different play modes. I mean, we saw Berserk, and it had multiple screens, but it was the same thing, you know, running around and shooting, but it did give you a little bit more freedom to how you shoot. This one, you can see I'm a little stilted with how I can move around the screen. All right, let's go. Warp. And warp. So this is the second game that we played that is a variant of Bomberman, which doesn't even exist right now. There is no such thing as Bomberman. But I mean, you gotta admit, this is like playing Bomberman. I even lay down, and it does when you lay it, it has the same timing to explode the bomb. There's one other game we played that has bomb placement like this on the ZX Spectrum. It was called Sabotage, and it allowed you to lay multiple bombs and then make chain reactions. Most likely inspired by this. Warp and warp! Get back there quick! Oh, where'd they go? Oh, I'll go for the bonus points here. So yeah, having a great time. When we first saw this in the arcades, blew me away, a blast. Right here, compared to everything you can play on home computers, we've played some bigger games. Some games pushing what you can do, how much adventuring or how far you can go with the shooter genre. This one feels, well, actually when we played in the arcades, it did feel a little bit like a ZX Spectrum game, but ZX Spectrum didn't exist at the time. And now that I'm playing it here on the Sword in 5, yeah, it feels like this could be easily on the ZX Spectrum, which I'm sure we'll see it at some point. We're going to see a lot of games on the Speccy. But great port. For the first time, this is awesome. Yeah, so the 2 screens is what gives it. Now look over in the chat. I see a 2.5 that's already been thrown out for all the games on home computers. A 3-star, and then another 3-star. I think that if I'm adding it right, Nebulous, you said 2.5 plus half a point. We've had some really good home ports on this kind of hardware. ColecoVision, very similar hardware as this, and so it has the same. They're just doing very admirable home ports. And this looks and plays great. Yeah, Curtis is saying 3 for everything you can play up to this point, and a 3.5 from Brian. Ooh, Charlie's throwing out 4. That's pretty good. Yeah, it is kind of like when we mentioned the other games on the Sword in 5 that have been ported over. It's really impressive they were here the first time. But there seems to be a few things lacking or missing. There's not too much missing from this port. There's not like a bonus mode or anything. This is kind of one-to-one. Oh, that's right, Charlie. Good point. The Sheriff feel, the way you move and shoot. Yeah, it's actually a little smoother than Sheriff, but yeah, the way this looks and you're able to move and shoot, it probably got the inspiration for that. All right, so there you go. That's Warp and Warp on your Sword M5 home computer. This one is a tricky one. In the arcades, when we first saw this, it was very, very impressive. Now, because we played so many things on the home computer, it's really not as impressive. It's still very good, though. I wouldn't go and say it's one of the best games you could play on any home computer by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a very good arcade game. I'm thinking around 3, maybe 3.5 stars for everything you could play up to this point. Because it's such a good port and it's very well executed, I don't want to say just average. I'll say 3.5 stars for everything you could play right now on all home computers. Warp and Warp is very good, but you've seen the other games we've seen so far on the Sword M5, and it can do really good stuff. So we might be seeing even better arcade games or better ports of arcade games coming up later. That's pretty good. That's awesome. All right, that's where we're going to put our video game playing on pause this evening. Thanks again so much, everyone that's joining right now live on the show. I see you over there. I'm so glad you're here to catch the show when we're here in November 1982. We are really close to the end of November 1982, so stay tuned as we get close to December 1982. That's it for today. Well, actually, next time on Chronologically Gaming, Grimsword, the warrior's ill-fated expedition to the Cave, has left him mortally wounded. When the king's wizard can't heal him, he calls upon his apprentice for a volunteer to travel to the wild and recover the truculent tonic of the Tavernid. That's it for today, and like I always say, when will it end? It ends when we check out every video game. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.